Quanta Bio. Ignite a spark. Fuel more insights. The Quanta Bio SparQ DNA Library Prep Kit enables rapid construction of DNA libraries from fragmented double-stranded DNA for sequencing on Illumina NGS platforms. Scientists are able to prepare DNA libraries in 2.5 hours from a wide range of input amounts from as low as 250 picograms and up to 1 microgram. The SparQ DNA Library Prep Kit is intended for molecular biology applications. This product is not intended for the diagnosis, prevention, or treatment of a disease. This video shows the process of preparing 8 libraries using master mixes at each step. The volumes presented are per reaction basis. Before you begin, prepare the reagents that are not included in the kit. These reagents include the 10 millimolar tris buffer, the nuclease-free water, 80% freshly prepared ethanol, the purification beads, and the adapters. At each step, master mixes can be prepared for multiple reactions and stored on ice until use. The DNA polishing step combines the DNA end repair and DA tailing into one step. The required reagents for this step have blue caps. Start by pre-programming the thermocycler with the heated lids set to 70 degrees Celsius. Start the program to preset the block to 4 degrees Celsius and pause while you get the reaction tubes ready. Keep the tubes on ice during the following reaction setup. Prepare the DNA polishing master mix by combining 5 microliters of the DNA polishing buffer and 10 microliters of the DNA polishing enzyme mix. Once mixed, add 15 microliters of the master mix to new thin-walled PCR tubes containing 35 microliters of the DNA for a total reaction volume of 50 microliters. Gently mix by pipetting and pulse spin the sample tubes. Immediately transfer the sample tubes to the pre-chilled thermocycler. Resume the cycling program until it is complete and the block temperature has returned to 4 degrees Celsius. Remove the sample tubes from the block and place on ice. The adapter ligation step has been optimized with SparQ UDI adapters, but is also compatible with any full-length Y-shaped adapters. Adapters may need to be diluted before use. Please refer to the appendix in the product manual for optimal adapter ligation efficiency. The required reagents for this step have orange caps. Transfer 4 microliters of the diluted adapters to 50 microliters of the fragmented DNA. Mix well and cool on ice. On ice, in a separate tube, prepare the ligation master mix by combining 20 microliters of the DNA rapid ligation buffer with 10 microliters of the DNA ligase and 16 microliters of the nuclease-free water for a total volume of 46 microliters for each reaction. Add this ligation master mix to the 54 microliters of the fragmented DNA plus adapter sample. Mix well. Incubate the ligation reaction at 20 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes, using a thermocycler without enabling the heated lid. If the size selection step is needed, Please refer to the appendix in the product manual. Please note that size selection is not recommended for inputs less than 100 nanograms. Equilibrate the SparQ Pure Mag beads to room temperature for 20 minutes before use. Thoroughly vortex the SparQ Pure Mag bead slurry. Add 80 microliters of the beads to the ligation sample and mix. Incubate the mixture for 5 minutes at room temperature. Pellet the beads on a magnetic stand until clear. Carefully remove and discard the supernatant. Keeping the tube on the magnetic stand, add 200 microliters of the freshly prepared 80% ethanol to wash the beads. Pellet the beads on the magnetic stand for 30 seconds and then carefully remove and discard the supernatant. Repeat the wash one more time and discard the supernatant. Air dry the beads on the magnetic stand for 3 to 5 minutes or until the beads no longer appear shiny. Be careful not to over-dry the beads. When resuspending the dried beads, there are 2 recommendations, depending on if library amplification is intended or not. If the optional library amplification is intended, add 25.5 microliters of the 10 millimolar tris buffer. Mix well. Pellet the beads on the magnetic stand. Carefully transfer 23.5 microliters of the supernatant to a new thin-walled PCR tube and proceed to the library amplification. The sample can also be stored at -20 degrees Celsius. If the library amplification is not intended, add 12.5 microliters of 10 millimolar tris buffer to a new thin-walled PCR tube. Carefully transfer 10 microliters of the supernatant and proceed to the validation and quantification of the library. The sample can also be stored at -20 degrees Celsius. The optional library amplification is generally recommended if the input DNA is less than 100 nanograms. Please note that excessive library amplification increases the likelihood of amplification bias and the generation of unwanted artifacts. The required reagents for this step have white caps. Pre-program a thermocycler with the heated lid set to 105 degrees Celsius. Take note of the recommended number of PCR cycles for steps 2 through 4 of the cycling program. The number depends on the input DNA sample amount. Start the cycling program to preheat the block to 98 degrees Celsius and then pause. In a separate tube, prepare the PCR master mix by combining 25 microliters of the HiFi PCR master mix and 1.5 microliters of the primer mix for a total volume of 26.5 microliters per reaction. Keeping the tubes on ice, add 26.5 microliters of the master mix to the 23.5 microliters of the DNA sample from the adapter ligation cleanup step for a total reaction volume of 50 microliters. Gently mix and resume cycling program. When the cycling program is complete and the sample block has returned to 4 degrees Celsius, remove the sample from the block and proceed immediately to the post-amplification cleanup. For the post-amplification cleanup, please refer to the adapter ligation cleanup step for the detailed protocol. Please note that the bead input and resuspension volumes do differ at this step. For this step, add 50 microliters of SparQ Pure Mag bead slurry to the amplified sample. Wash the beads twice, each time with 200 microliters of the freshly prepared 80% ethanol. After air drying the beads, resuspend the beads in 32.5 microliters of 10 millimolar tris buffer. Transfer 30 microliters of the supernatant into a new tube. Proceed to the library QC step. One option is a qPCR-based quantification with the SparQ Universal Library Quant Kit. The libraries are now ready to be sequenced. Quanta Bio. Ignite a spark. Fuel more insights.